Hey there, it's 7 Grains of Salt. God sent this virus? Well, we're going to go over that, but I'm just going to say right now, no, nope, absolutely not, and no. But we're going to go over that right after we look at this article. Doctor of Jewish town blesses Trump for approving drug that's saving his community. Hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin. Now, I suggest researching these, but let's look at the article. And I will add the article below so you can read it, but I want you to see the date and the time. 8/18. Why would they do it at specifically that time? And of course they're going to lean on, I will bless those who bless you, as right there underneath the title. And I just did a video on the drugs and their side effects, so I suggest you do your own research and really look at it. But then it goes on to say, my heartfelt blessings to you. I personally love you, and I hope that God protects you and your family and the blessings and everything that you do, which is saving this nation from disaster. So then today there was another article, Coronavirus Closing Cities Worldwide, Realization of Ezekiel 36. So what do they say? You look out into the streets, desolate. So in Europe, of course, and now even in America. And it says, so I poured out my wrath on them for the blood which they shed upon their land, for the idols which they defiled it. Idols of Hollywood, theater, NBA, NHL, all these are idols. But just keep in mind, my little note, we'll look at the article in a second together, idol worship is also worshiping Jesus. I just want you to know that for those who have not watched my Noahide Laws video. And we will be for that. So, beheaded. Let's look at the article. I forgot I was going to point this out because it says God is really cleaning up the filth of the world. This is exactly spiritually. This is what's happening. God's cleaning up our act. God is cleaning up the world. And he says the wake-up call is understanding that all these physical products are to tell us, are to waken us to spiritually perfect and cleanse ourselves if we have to. Every few minutes wash our hands to make sure that our hands are clean. And this is from the article. In here he goes on to say, the fact that panic shoppers keep buying water shows that they are going after the same element that is used in the purification process as written in Ezekiel. But the rabbi also added that it needs to be used to purify the soul. Well, when you read the wake-up call, it says also, how about your spiritual activities? How have our words been, our thoughts? How about our deeds? Without me checking every second. That's the idea. Transfer the physical idea here into spiritual, because that's why God is bringing physical virus contamination into the world to waken us spiritually. Rabbi Richter concludes that section of his hour-and-a-half lecture saying God is really cleaning up the fifth of the world. Unbelievable. No, God is not pouring his wrath. This is man-made. This is a biological weapon, and I'm going to have a clip of Israel News in just a minute to show you exactly why this is happening and who is doing this. And of course, in yesterday, breaking Israel News, Israel drug maker to donate 10 million coronavirus curing pills to hospitals across the U.S. And what pill or medicine is that? Of course, it's hydroxychloroquine. Let's see. Actually, let's look at the time. Look at that, 11:22. They do these at exact times for a reason. But I suggest you doing your own research on this. I am not a doctor. I am only giving to you the information that has been given to me. And I trust right now that we are not to take this kind of medicine. This is purely evil. That's my opinion. But ask for wisdom. Ask God. Pray. Seek his wisdom, and he will give it to you. I'm going to show you a clip of Dooreen Dotan. I found this quite hilarious, and maybe you will too.
The Gentiles know that the Jews are responsible for everything bad that occurs in the world. Problem is that the rabbis don't know. The Jews don't know. It is up to the rabbis to ask themselves very, very difficult questions. Those difficult questions are, if I believe that my Rebbe is a tzaddik who has godly vision, how is it that there's pedophilia in our midst? Not as an isolated, once-in-a-generation phenomenon, but that it's prevalent. How is it that there were Rebbes who made pacts with the Bush family, who were known Nazi collaborators? How did they not know that, or did they?
So I'm wondering, maybe there's some light getting in there. No, I don't follow her. I was given this by a subscriber, and I just found it very interesting to share. But let's go on to Israel News Live, because this was the most interesting, and I trust that you really should listen to the entirety, even though it does break up at times and is quite distracting, even for Christopher Bjerknes. Let's listen.
Christopher, when you were on with Adam Green, you mentioned a few sources that was a pre-planned event, and it is a bioweapon. Can you share these with us and these sources? Now, I think you actually sent those sources to us, if I'm not mistaken. About
more
this.
Recent source, which is well known, is Dean Kuntz's book, The Eyes of Darkness, where in the second edition he stated that there would be the virus released through the Wuhan Biological Weapons Development Labs in Wuhan, and that's it. Looks like what happened here. But I have a much older source from 1910 from a famous communist author named Jack London, who wrote The Call of the Wild. He published a short story in 1910, which really was breakthrough work on biological warfare. He was among the first to ever advocate biological warfare, and he advocated it against the Chinese, and he said that it would be developed in New York by a famous scientist in the United States, and then they would release it and several other biological weapons on the Chinese at the same time that the Western powers surrounded China and quarantined it, so that the viruses and bacteria would spread and completely exterminate the Chinese.
Some people believe it's going to be the third temple built on the Temple Mount. Some are saying that it's already built underground. I don't really know the answer to that, but
I've also heard that there's a theory that they may have prefabricated major elements of the temple, and that they will be able to erect it extremely quickly before anyone can react.
Let me ask you this as well, Christopher. Do you think that the normal life will be back again, or the life as we knew it will be gone in regards to this coronavirus, that this pandemic? And I don't want to make light of the pandemic idea of the aspect of this. It is a pandemic, and the people are dying from this. I actually have seen some of the videos from Iran, because my source in Iran said that Iran was not afraid to show the world what had been done to them, and I saw children in the most agonizing way of dying, and of course I don't know if they were dying at that point or not, but it was really horrendous. It does attack the respiratory system like you could never believe. But anyway, do you think that we might go back to normal? And I guess we've kind of answered that already, but just direct question on that one.
This is guesswork, but I think this was a world-changing event, and in about 2 to 6 weeks, America is going to crumble in ways that we cannot foresee at this moment. We're about to enter a very tragic period in our history, and it will change us forever.
So let me ask you this then, Christopher. Are you aware that the Jewish rabbis are spreading the information that the coronavirus is punishment on Gentiles, specifically in China, Iran, Italy, and they specifically mention Christians being punished by the Jewish God? What do you think about that?
I'm not surprised. I expected it. I saw the article in Breaking Israel News, which referenced Rabbis Mendel Kessen, Metiyahu Glazerson, and Yosef Mizrahi. I have been noting the fact that the primary enemies and traditional enemies have been targeted as the hubs of these whirlwinds. Italy signifies Rome, which of course
we got to the part about opposed Rome.
Yes, there was opposition to Rome, of course, because of the historical attack of the Romans on Jerusalem under the crypto-Jew Alexander Julius Tiberius Julius Alexander, I'm sorry. And he led the attack on Rome. We know that Greece has been a historic enemy due to the fights with the Maccabees when they believed that they were being Hellenized, and Greece is the hub of the invasion into Europe of Muslim populations from Africa and Asia. China has been a primary target of the Trump administration. So we see that these historic enemies, and now Germany, it was reported that a plane flew from Israel to Germany, and of the 24 passengers that were tested, 7 tested positive.
They flew the plane from Israel to Germany. 7 of those tested positive.
7 out of 24, which is about 29%, which is incredible.
You know, this is almost like it's intentional.
I can't say that, but it's definitely noteworthy. And Angela Merkel said that 70% of Germans would contract the virus, and Donald Trump was trying to buy exclusive rights to a vaccine being developed in Germany, which would exclude the Germans from having access to the very vaccine that they themselves developed. So it seems that these historic enemies are being directly targeted, but it's certainly has spread beyond their borders. So it may be some kind of Kabbalistic ritual, and it's certainly also targeting the primary historic centers of Christendom. Greece was the Byzantine Empire, which was engaged in the persecution of Jewry, and Rome was the center of Roman Catholicism, which also controlled the Byzantine Empire effectively. But those two centers of the Eastern and Western Church have been directly attacked, and now we have rabbis saying that it was divine punishment. But these are clearly man-made, manufactured bioweapons. I think the Jewish people are in peril along with everyone else, and I think that those who orchestrated and perpetrated the Holocaust have plans for another one to wipe out 2/3 of Jewry, because they believe that Jews have to be tried in a furnace of affliction. Well, that's a significant idea, is that they have broken Jewry into 6 million groups, 6 million in America, 6 million in Israel, and 6 million in Russia. And they always had this notion, as Paul discussed, that there is a stem, a root, and that Jewry cannot be defeated because even if you cut off the branches, the diseased branches, as they put it, there will always be the stem to replenish the tree and to have the outgrowth. So they are quite comfortable with the idea of cutting off whole branches. And in World War II, they were cutting off the branch of the assimilated. The European assimilated Jews is the branch that they wanted to sever. And it is very unpredictable which 2 other branches they intend to cut off in the near future. But I suspect that's in the works. And people ought to be cognizant of it because it's very real.
It is. Now, if I understand it correct, then, so there's still the plot and the plan to take out basically 12 million more Jews, 6 million in Russia, 6 million in America, that have not been pruned from the tree by this Zionist elite. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes. And I think people ought to take it highly.
I'll catch this thought here in just a moment with Christopher. You were saying that people should take this highly
seriously. Because look at the cavalier way that they're talking about the deaths and tragedy that are happening in Iran, in Rome, in China. They have no regard for human life, and they have no regard for human life that is not part of the Zionist cabal. All throughout the Holocaust, Greenbaum, who was mentioned in that book you referenced, Holocaust Victims Accused, were saying that the European Jewish life is not worth anything, that all the Jews in the diaspora are not worth one life of a Palestinian Jew. They had complete disregard for Jewish life unless it was Zionist.
My goodness.
Not only disregard, I think open contempt. They wanted to murder those people. They wanted those people to suffer so that they could attain their atonement and then establish the state of Israel.
Any closing comments?
Please take the coronavirus seriously. Try to isolate yourself from other people as much as possible. If you have breathing masks, utilize breathing masks when you're in public. This whole crisis has prompted people to go out and hoard things at supermarkets and other things and come in close contact in tight lines, slow-moving lines. And there is the possibility that there will be an explosion of this virus in 2 to 6 weeks, and we will be under the same conditions that Italy is in. We are simply a few weeks behind Italy, but that situation is very likely to occur. So please keep yourselves healthy. Don't panic, but do engage in social isolation. This is not a hoax. You are in danger. It is not only affecting the old people, which is the propaganda the U.S. government is putting out. It can cause 30% reduction in lung function in healthy adults who contract the disease. There is a potential for it to do testicular damage and cause infertility,
Yes.
although that has been disputed. So please take this disease seriously. Please keep yourself healthy, not only for your own sake, but for the sake of all others.
It was a great interview, minus all the Skype hiccups, but definitely take your vitamins and your vitamin C, which is Christ as well. One quick note, American Journal of Respiratory and Critical Care Medicine had this to say, that humming heals. I'll add the link to this video, and this is at 4738. I'm not going to play it, but he does go over the importance of vitamin C and also humming. And in this American Journal of Respiratory and Critical Care Medicine discussing that humming can also help with your nasal passages and sinuses, that it's a very positive thing. So let's get humming. But most importantly, pray. Right now, we do need to get close to God. We need to be talking with Him and cleansing ourselves. That one, I can agree with the rabbis that right now we need to be closer to Christ than ever. But remember that His name is above all names. So, and He can give us protection when no one else can. So, stay close to Christ, stay vigilant, and stay safe, everyone. God bless.